So I want you to look in the mirror and ask yourself how you've gotten to where you currently are. Yes, obviously you walked, ran, or army crawled to your current physical location, but look deeper than basic locomotion. Ask yourself how you mentally, emotionally, financially, intellectually arrived to your current state. Then go through the next important piece of our complicated puzzle and figure out why you arrived at your current state. The latter of the two tasks will bring you to either two conclusions. Either you've independently made every decision on your own with zero regard to any outside influences, and every success you've ever had was solely on your own, hence you're a robot. Or, like the rest of us, you've arrived at your current state due to some sort of influence in your life. Some great, some good, some not so great, and some horrible. For both you and me, I think influence is a great big picture term. But because of its generalistic nature, we need to break it down to one of the greatest predictors of deemed success and failures. And that is our personal network and how that influences our life. Yes, we are going back to Chem 1 in a business class, but hear me out. I want you to think back to your early days of childhood. Who made up your nucleus, the most important in your network? That's the red and blue bulbs in there for you non-nerds. And who made up your electron shell? That's your acquaintances, your distant friends, your distant relatives. Those are the hula hoops with beads. This was your system. As children, this homeostatic state can be perfect. Minimal change, minimal external networking, and minimal risk. But in business, this atom is looked at as a network cluster. For you who hated science class, you'd look at this cluster as you get the picture. In nature, this atom would exist in perfect autonomy until an external force came and changed its chemical makeup. I'd like to call that force Steve. Steve was a dear friend of mine in college who completely changed my system. Before I met Steve, my young adolescence life was an absolute network cluster. My network consisted of individuals from my exact same walk of life, my exact same age, my exact same education level, and other 19-year-old cluster issues, if you know what I mean. Steve was the most important member of my network. After he befriended me, we had just one common ground, and that we both valued and cared about an organization and sacrificed for it deeply. Because of this common ground, Steve became an integral part of my network. He was the ultimate broker in that he introduced me to three primary decision contacts of my life, tied to volunteering, business, and education. I can attribute all of my personal and professional successes to those three contacts. They helped me find my career path. I landed a successful job because of these, and they sprung me into my future in volunteering. Do you know a Steve? Do you have a Steve? Do you want a Steve in your life to springboard your network? Now, when you look at this diagram, you can see that from the pink dots there, Steve and me were connected. The stray dot, those are just distant buddies. Those are friends. Those weren't real business contacts. Now, through Steve, I was able to open up a whole new network of diverse members that were from different industries, different walks of life, different ages, and different socioeconomic background. And that's truly what I wanted in a network. Now that we can stop hating chemistry, I want you to ask yourself, how does your network truly look? Now be honest, when's the last time you've made a connection outside of your office? Or better yet, when's the last time you made a connection outside of your industry? If you can't remember, your network might be stagnant and could potentially impact your professional growth. But then the question arrives, how do I change my network? And that's the million-dollar question. My friend Steve had his flaws, but he shared a vital trait that the best networkers on this planet had, in that he was a giver. He gave his time, he gave his trust, he gave his resources without expecting anything in return. This is a tough ask for us, myself included. I tend to be a taker. But by giving instead of taking, people will trust you to their networks. They'll fight for mutualistic success and build personal relationships that withstand the test of professional struggles. By becoming a giver, you'll be able to become more confident outside of your own traditional comfort zones, like things that are outside of your normal industries. And this is because your new, more diverse network will continue to consult you for issues that they might have more expertise on. You'll be privileged to private information that will help your success, and you'll have more power to help others in other networks that you may not even know exist. Also, research shows that givers tend to score higher in performance evaluations in the long term, and that they're constantly looked at as leaders in the workplace. Bob Berg once said, "The successful networkers I know, the ones receiving tons of referrals and feeling truly happy about themselves, continually put the other person's needs ahead of their own." In closing, I'd like you to truly open your mind to the value of your own network, myself included, and how you envision your future. I'd like you to reflect on your legacy. Do you want to be remembered as a networker who gave to build for the future, to be remembered as somebody that thought about things in the present and the future instead of in the past? Or do you want to be remembered as self-righteous and greedy? Do you want to be remembered as a taker? Evaluate how changing your personal attitude to a giver instead of a taker, and see how that can impact your personal and professional life. When you approach your network building strategy with a giving heart, you will find success. It will be the most satisfying reward you've ever received in your life. And like all the other successful givers and giving networkers of our time, you'll be talked about with reverence and admiration for years to come. Thanks.